Okay, so welcome to day 3 of your booklet. This should be the final day for the booklet. You should be able to finish by the end of the period today. That's the goal. Now, we've already done 5 of the 7 elements. We've done line, shape, form, value, and color. You've had colored pencils and watercolors to use. Now we're going to do the last 2 remaining elements of art, which are space and texture. There are lots of ways to do space and texture, but there's a couple things I need you to know about these ideas. So let's start with space first. Okay, so space has 2 types. We have positive space and we have negative space. Okay, now the way I like to show space is I'll draw a square and I'll put a circle in it. I'll do that twice. Okay, so I have 2 squares, 2 circles inside. Now the part that I color in will show you which is positive and which is negative space. So basically the circle represents whatever drawing is on a page, and then the square represents the background or the page. So for positive space, the circle gets colored in, because the positive space is the things that are actually there or drawn. Okay. For negative space, we color in the opposite area. The area around the circle gets colored in to show that the background or the unfilled space is the negative space. Okay, so space is really simple. Really simple. Okay. Now, doing space here makes me want to back up and focus something more on shape. Okay, shape, we've done all these nice shapes here for shape, and these are what we call geometric shapes. So I'm going to write maybe geometric out to the side. Okay, so these are all geometric shapes. I'm going to draw a little line right here. I'm going to write organic at the bottom. Okay, organic. And then I'm going to draw some shapes that are not geometric shapes. These are going to be my organic shapes. Things like maybe, I don't know, a leaf. Okay, a leaf is an organic shape. A rock. Okay. So just draw kind of a shape there and give it some bumps, some texture. A cloud, the outline of a cloud is definitely organic. And I always like to maybe draw just some kind of a randomly curved object also. So these organic shapes are very different from the geometric shapes. Okay, and you can go back and do that at any point you want to. Just designate part for geometric and part for organic. This is really simple. And anything that's not geometric is organic. It's either or. And some are hard to define. Art is kind of that way sometimes. So don't freak out if you can't figure out if it's organic or geometric. As long as you know that it is a shape, that's a good start. And form can be organic and geometric also. We're not going to draw any organic or geometric forms. We're just going to stick with this, but I just want to point that out to you. So we've got space here. And again, you've got the positive space with the circle filled in here, and then the negative space with the background filled in. Okay, and then the last one is going to be actually on the back cover. That's the last page we have, and this is where we're going to do texture. Now texture, I think, is one of the most fun elements of art to add into your artwork, because all you have to do is use some type of a repeated shape or type of line, or repeat some kind of a pattern, and you can make a texture on your own. So I'm going to use a little bit of watercolor here and show you how to use some very simple tricks to do some simple types of texture. I'm going to start with some green. Okay, I'm just going to paint a little area of green right here. Nice and light. Okay, and let that dry for just a minute. And I'll also, let's see, what's another texture I can do? I'll do a little bit of purple. I'll do kind of some curves down here, like this. And I'll let that dry for just a minute, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. Okay, now while we're waiting for those to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do another texture for you that is really easy to do. I'm going to draw the top of this would be like maybe the top of someone's head. It's just a curved line that goes up. And what kind of texture do you think I'm going to do if I'm drawing the top of the head? Hair, right? So hair is really simple. All you have to do is draw lines that go up. And you can have them going any direction you want to show hair. Maybe this person has some bedhead, so I'll give him like some kind of crazy hair coming down this way. And maybe some hair pointing up this way. Maybe he's got some weird hair coming down like this way. Slept on it weird or something like that. Give him some eyebrows. Okay, so that's the top of someone's head to show a little hair. I'm sorry the picture's out of focus. I'm having trouble with my camera, but you can kind of see what I'm doing here just a little bit. So we've got texture. I'm going to go ahead and try to focus this a little better because I'm not really happy with it. I guess I can't access the menu, so we'll continue. So this is kind of dried here a little bit, enough for me to do what I want to do. Okay, so for this space, I can use a pencil or a marker, or I can use a colored pencil. And all I have to do to this one, can't really see that very well, so I'm going to use my marker. Okay, let me switch to a darker color here. Okay, so you can see I've kind of made this scaly kind of texture. I was going to do it with my marker. I was going to do it with a darker green, but I had to switch to a darker color because it wasn't quite working out. Okay, and the same thing I can do with this one over here. I was going to show you guys how to do a cloud. Let's see if the marker will work over top of this one. Okay, again, not wanting to cooperate. So let me see if I can make a little bit of a... Let me get a pen here. Maybe a pen will work better for me. Okay, so there's a little cloud I did with the pen, and I have a little watercolor there to show some color on the bottom of the cloud. Maybe there's some kind of a shadow there with the watercolor. Okay, so texture is just basically repeating some kind of a pattern. Other textures you can do are like a wood grain. That's really very simply drawn like a rectangle. And then I usually add like a dot in the center somewhere to make it kind of like a knot. And then I just do lines that kind of surround that. And then more lines that are kind of parallel to those to kind of give it that wood grain kind of look to it. Okay, so there's a couple different ways to do texture there. And like I said, any pattern that you repeat is going to create a texture. Okay, repeated patterns create some kind of a texture. So it's up to you how you do that, but that's all 7 elements of art. So your booklet should have a cover. Hopefully yours is much more decorated than mine. Then you have line and shape. And make sure you go back and do geometric and organic to try and do a little bit of both of those. Then you should have form. Then you should have value with these 3 value scales here at least. Remember, this is a minimum. You can always add more if you want to each page for practice or for decoration. Color with the primary and the secondary colors labeled, and then some kind of an attempt at a color wheel. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Space, positive and negative, and then a few examples of texture on the back, and that should be your booklet.